bottom line is, man, it's hard to break us now. It's hard to break us. As a matter of fact, you ain't going to do it.
Open look going as he hits it. What a play called by Tom Izzo in that timeout.
I was 7 years old watching a football game by myself, and I saw those winged helmets come out of the tunnel, and I was hooked at that point.
Kane in Chicago! Oh my God! Kane with the overtime winner!
Jameer Gibbs to the end zone. Touchdown, Detroit Lions. You can't cover that man one-on-one. You just can't do it.
He drives, lobs to JD for a jam.
You play real good, you start. You don't play as good, you work your way back in. It's the American way, except America has gotten soft. But that is the American way. That's the way it works.
This is the 6'6" Kane Cunningham. Jameson Williams, he's got it. Touchdown, Lions. Now it's Larkin with a burst of speed. He scores. Gives the United States the lead for the first time tonight.
Well, we needed some of that the other night. Didn't get it in Carolina. The Red Wings back on the ice, back on the frozen floor, if you will, tonight in Nashville. Welcome, everybody. Hope you had a great weekend. This is X's and Bros throughout the great state of Michigan. I'm Matt Shepard. Trent Bally is alongside, and we're glad you are part of it, too. If you want to get more involved, all you got to do is give us a call on the Meyer hotline, 866-838-4843, or you can text us, Sports Radio 21000. You can also add comments into watching us on YouTube, on Twitter, and on Facebook as well. Pistons take out the Magic in Orlando 106-92 for their sixth straight roadkill. Detroit has held Orlando, or did hold Orlando, to under 31% shooting in the second half. Cade Cunningham, 29 points, 11 assists. If you want to get nitpicky, and sometimes I do, I'm guilty of it, I set a high bar for what I consider the MVP of the league. 5 turnovers, too many. But guy handles the ball all the time, and he's doing a hell of a lot more good than bad. That is, again, getting nitpicky, but as an MVP candidate, you must be at your best on a regular basis. I mean, that's kind of the bottom line. And for the most part, he has been. Tobias Harris added 23 points, 10 on 18 shooting. When I watch Tobias Harris now, I don't know if you feel this way, folks, but if you've listened to us on a weekly basis, Tim Hardaway Sr., the Hall of Famer and the co-host of the Crossover podcast, joins us once a week. So does Lindsey Hunter. They've got a great podcast talking basketball. He was the guy who said, do not trade Tobias Harris. He's the guy who says, you need a secondary scorer. Jalen Duren's a secondary scorer, but he's talking about from the wing. He's talking about as a guy who can post up, as a guy who can hit the mid-range jumper, the guy who another team has to account for. And every time I watch Tobias Harris now, I think of how Tim Hardaway Sr. talks about him. He had 23 points last night, 10 of 18 shooting. Jalen Duren had 16 points and 10 rebounds. Detroit goes 6-1 while Isaiah Stewart was suspended. So his suspension is over. They have now won 10 of 11 on the road. They improved to 21-7 away from home overall. And they have won 45 games for the first time since 2008. They will visit Cleveland tomorrow. Jalen Duren in the last 5 games, okay? Some people don't think he's a star. That's fine. Some people don't think he's a secondary scorer. That's okay, too. We can have that debate if you'd like. But here is what he has done over the last 5 games. Small sample size. But remember, the larger sample size, he's an all-star. The extended suggestion is that he's going to represent our country in the 2028 Olympics. And the speculation also adds to it that he would start for that team. Anyway, 16 points, 10 boards, a block on 6 of 12 shooting last night. 33 points, 16 boards, 3 blocks the game before. 29, 15 on 12 of 17 shooting. 25 points, 14 boards on 10 of 13 shooting. 26 points, 13 rebounds, 12 of 20 shooting. Yes. Yes, he's getting better. And by the way, it's not all cleanup. a lot of it is they're starting to give him, I'm sure you're noticing this more and more, they're starting to give him the ball at the elbow. He's popping out more. He's taking handoffs. And what is he doing? He's working. He's backing his way in. He's dribbling down the right side of the lane or the left side of the lane. Haven't seen him as much on the left. He's more of a right-handed dominant player, it seems like to me. Either way, he's starting to expand his game a little bit. I hope people are noticing because this is a guy who's getting a lot better. Now, he's going to make a lot of money in the offseason. How much? I don't know, but he's going to make a lot of money. He's a guy you're starting to count on, and I like that. I don't know if people saw this yesterday, but the Knicks beat the hell out of San Antonio. We were speculating last week San Antonio might be the best team in the NBA. Might be better than OKC. OKC and Denver played the other night in what was a very good game. But San Antonio, after what they did coming into Detroit and winning the way they did, really impressed. Then they're at New York, and the Knicks just pound them. Karl Anthony Towns was a difference maker. When Karl Anthony Towns was guarding Victor Wembanyama, the Spurs shot 26% from three overall. But when Karl Anthony Towns was guarding Wembanyama, they went 2 of 14. Wembanyama is minus 15 plus minus. If you believe in that, I do. It's not just a hockey stat anymore. Was his second worst of the year. So Pistons with a feel-good win. That's awesome. Michigan State's win was just as impressive, if not more. They double dip in the state of Indiana after beating Purdue earlier in the week. And that's as good a win as they have on their resume. It might be as good a win as any team in the Big Ten, just because of where you got to do it. Michigan's win for sure, okay? I'm not saying it's better than Michigan. I'm saying it's as good. Keep that in mind. Well, they roll into Assembly Hall, and they beat up Indiana 77-64 for their fourth straight win. Jackson Kohler leads the way, a season-best 21 points, 13 boards. Jeremy Fears adds 21 points, 9 assists. Kerr Tang popped in a career-best 18. The Spartans shot 49% from the floor. They hit 12 triples. They improved to 24-5. They are 14-4 in conference play. Anybody who says, well, you can get by without being really good three-point shooters, you may be able to do that for a game or two. You better start making shots. You have to start making threes in today's league, in today's game of basketball in general. I'm not saying that's the only thing you have to rely on, but you better be able to make them, because if you can't, you get exposed quickly. If you can't, you will not be able to string together victories.
Really hope the Pistons are listening to you right now. I know you're on the college track, but
wow, yeah,
it's the same.
I've got a really disappointing number for them over the last 4 games now, and it's Trent. It's a really tough debate here because they're winning despite of it. It always puts you on guard though for a little bit further into the playoffs. Red Wings are in Nashville tonight, as I said. They need to bounce back after a loss to Carolina Saturday night. And it was a bad loss. I mean, Carolina's bigger. They're physical. They showed it. Todd McClellan's soundbite afterwards was epic. We got guys just wearing jerseys right now. You don't want to play, get off the ice. You know, the obvious response to that would be, well, if you don't think they're playing well, don't dress them. They need help. Preds are winless in 6 of their last 10. Nico Echevarria shot a 566 Sunday, played bogey-free all weekend to win the Cognizant Open in Florida. Did you see what happened here? It's his third win on the PGA Tour. He had to come from behind to do it. Shane Lowry had a 3-stroke lead with 3 holes to play. This guy was usually money on Sundays. Double bogey 16, double bogey 17, and he loses. Here's our Mitch Lyons Wealth poll question of the day. Which free agent defensive end would you want the Lions to sign? Khalil Mack, Trey Hendrickson, Joey Bosa, or Arden Key? Which edge rusher? Khalil Mack, Trey Hendrickson, Joey Bosa, Arden Key. Vote as often as you want. At XB Mornings, I'll retweet it. At Shep Matt, and we'll give you the results tomorrow. I had mentioned some problems with the Pistons as of late. We'll get into that. We got a big month of March that's ongoing or about to take place. And I saw something over the weekend I wish the Tigers would do. We'll get to that when we come back on a Monday morning, brought to you by Mitch Lyons Wealth.
You've worked hard for decades saving in pre-tax retirement plans like 401ks and IRAs, saving on taxes now. But as your retirement now approaches, you're going to get taxed at rates you have no control over. Hi, I'm Mitch Lyons, founder of Mitch Lyons Wealth. Your 401k balance isn't worth what your statement says. You could lose thousands of dollars to taxes, and those distributions can impact other areas of your retirement like Social Security and Medicare. Could a Roth IRA conversion be of help to you? You've probably heard of Roth conversions, but it can be confusing. Should you convert all at once or over time? Where should you pay the taxes from? How do you know for sure? Get our free personalized Roth Blueprint analysis today to find out exactly what makes sense for you. Your Roth Blueprint could potentially increase your lifetime wealth by thousands of dollars. So get your free Roth Blueprint today. Text Blueprint to 844-867-8335. That's Blueprint to 844-867-8335. Or go to MitchLyonsWealth.com, your best game plan to protect, grow, and win retirement.
Hear that? That's the sound of saving a good deal more when you shop with M-Perks at Meijer. Some delicious Cosmic Crisp apples, money saved. Meijer Essential Paper Towels, that's money saved. Savings, savings, savings. Because every dollar spent is also points earned in M-Perks, which you can use to save on your next grocery trip or up to $1 off per gallon on your next tank of gas. At Meijer, we work hard to help you save a good deal more for a whole lot less. That's bringing more good to life. Exclusions apply. See mperks.com for details.
What's up, Michigan? You're listening to Shep. Don't forget the huge show later today at 3 on the Michigan Sports Network.
I mean, we defend at a level like many people aren't willing to do. To hold in the 18 point, 17 point third and fourth quarter, but that gives you opportunity to win different. It puts a ton of pressure on your defense, obviously, but you've seen it time and time again. Our guys have the ability to respond to it. I don't know how the hell you're in a basketball game shooting 1 for 18 for 3.5. But again, it's a credit to our guys' grit, toughness, ability to get stops, and then understanding who we are. Right? They don't panic when it happens. They just continue to do the next right thing.
JB Bickerstaff after his team's 106-92 win in Orlando last night, giving them 45 wins for the first time since 2008. Welcome back, X's and Bros, Monday through Friday, throughout the great state of Michigan. Thanks for being with us. So there's a debate here, because over the last 4 games, the Pistons are shooting 21.5% from 3. So I ask you this, is it proof they can win without making threes? Or is it a concern for you moving forward? And I suppose one of the favorite sayings for people today is 2 things can be true at the same time. You can be really concerned about this team's inability to make threes on a consistent basis. And you can also recognize perhaps that's not who they are. But I do wonder if that is a long-term recipe for success. Now, somebody, it was during the game. It was not once the game ended. Everybody's mood changes after the game is over. As soon as your team wins, you're like, hey, forget all the tweets I just had. Forget all the posts I just had and how this team has set basketball back 20 years because they can't make a three. They were, it was ugly. I'm not going to deny that. I don't know how you can. They were 4 for 30. Cade Cunningham made 2 threes, but he took 9 of them. The only other players to make a three, Javonte Green made 1, Tobias Harris made 1. Duncan Robinson is supposed to be that guy. He took 4 shots. All of them were triple attempts, and obviously didn't make any of them. He played 20 minutes and didn't score a point. That is not conducive to winning long term, especially in the playoffs, if you're the Pistons. Now, do we complain about that? Are we overlooking a 14-point win on the road? Are we overlooking a team that, despite going 4 for 30 from deep, which is 13%, by the way, shot 45% from the floor overall? Are we overlooking the fact that they held Orlando to 38% shooting? Orlando made 6 more triples, but lost by 14. I know we're looking for perfection as much as we can get it. You're not going to find that very often, if at all, by a team. An individual, maybe, but a team. Come on. There are 4 triples made against the Magic, the 6th lowest by a team in a win since the start of the 2020s. Okay? They took 30 attempts, the highest of any team in the top 20. But here's what we need to remind ourselves sometimes. That's not how this team was built. Now, there are a couple of guys who are supposed to be those 3-point shooters. If there's a weakness to Cade Cunningham, it would be his 3-point shooting. It was a weakness of Michael. I'm not comparing him to these guys, so please, but I'm just giving you some examples. There was a weakness to Michael Jordan's game. It was a 3-point shot. He improved on it. There was a weakness to Magic Johnson's shot in his game, and he improved on the 3-point shooting. Cade Cunningham is not too dissimilar. Here's what we need to remember. If you're looking at the top, among the top offensive efficiency ratings, Detroit is number 10 in the league. If you're looking at the top defensive efficiency, Detroit is number 2. If you're looking at the top net ranking, Detroit is number 2. And if you believe in Phil Jackson's philosophy that you have to get to 40 wins before 20 losses, That's the only way you can be a championship contender, because I believe it's 80% of the NBA champions, 80%, have had 40 wins before they suffer their 20th loss. I believe there are only 3 teams who can make that claim this year: Detroit, OKC, and San Antonio. They are on pace to win 62 games. And I'm having a hard time sitting here for an extended period of time anyway, bitching and complaining about their lack of three-point shooting. I may change my mind in the postseason, and you may come back and point a finger at me and say, I told you so. You didn't worry enough about it. I was concerned from the very get-go. That could be. And I've been wrong before too. I've said numerous times last year during the baseball season, their defense concerns me. Didn't seem to really hurt them all that much, did it? At least on the surface. We don't know until you look at analytics how a guy should be able to get to a baseball. Just because it goes into left center field doesn't mean your player shouldn't have gotten it. Doesn't mean that a good player, a more elite defender, should have gotten it. So I think that's the thing we've got to remind ourselves a little bit. That's where I'm torn. I am torn because I see a team that is winning with an identity, but the identity that you would like them to have, or in addition to, added to their identity, they don't possess. Except for once in a while. Except for when we see it. When we see Duncan Robinson hitting threes. When we see Cade Cunningham. Or when we see Javonte Green. I mean, that's the deep concern. The deep concern for many people. If you're trying to find somebody who's not all in on the Pistons, here's the reason why. Right? You're trying to figure that out for San Antonio. Here's the reason why. Well, if Wembanyama's not playing well, they're going to struggle. If they don't have any playoff experience. You know what I mean? You're looking for ways to pierce the armor. Well, here it is. Detroit's in the lower third in three-point shooting. Detroit's as a team is at 34.7%. Who's worse? Utah, Orlando, New Orleans, Dallas, Brooklyn, Sacramento, and Portland. None of those teams strike fear as potential NBA championship material. So therein lies part of the issue. When you're behind Washington in something, that's a concern. I would remind you San Antonio is as well in the same category. But still, that's the deep concern I think some people have. And look, for me to try and you to say, brush it off and it's really not a big deal is unfair. It shouldn't keep us up at night because they won by 14. It shouldn't keep us up at night because they've got 45 wins more than anybody else. Shouldn't keep us up at night because it sure as hell looks like they're going to be the 1 seed in the East. It's going to be hard to catch them, right? Shouldn't keep you up at night because you got an MVP candidate. But if there is a concern, if you're filling out your NBA, NCAA type bracket for June Madness, actually May, and then get into June, one of your hesitations, and the reason you might have an eraser when you're doing it is because you're not sure that team can make enough threes in case they do get down. What we got to remember is they're second in defense efficiency behind OKC and just ahead of San Antonio. They find ways to stay in games and find ways to win games. And I hate to tell you this, but they've been doing this all season long. Our phone number on the Meyer hotline, 866-838-4843. We could text us, Sports Radio, 21,000. When we come back, something I wish the Tigers would implement at Comerica Park. We'll get to that when we come back. Mitch Lyons, Wealth, sponsors this first hour of X's and Bros.
Mitch Lyons here, founder of Mitch Lyons Wealth, where we create your best game plan to protect, grow, and win retirement. I'm here with Tiger legend Kirk Gibson, who we are proud to support and partner with on the newly opened Kirk Gibson Center for Parkinson's Wellness.
Thanks, Mitch. We appreciate your support, and we are excited to have recently opened the center in Farmington Hills. It provides exercise therapy and educational programs that are helping the Parkinson's community. Just like Mitch Lyons Wealth helps improve the quality for their clients' retirements, this center helps improve the quality of life for people with Parkinson's.
And Gibby, the best part of all is that access to the center is available to the Parkinson's community free of charge, right?
That's right, absolutely free of charge for people with Parkinson's and their care partners.
You hit a couple of the most famous home runs in Major League history, Gibby, but I feel that your greatest hit will be the positive impact that Kirk Gibson Center is making in the fight against Parkinson's.
Mitch, since my diagnosis, I get up every day and focus on winning that day. This center encourages others to do the same.
Awesome, Gibby. To learn more, go to kirkgibsoncenter.org.
Hey, when you travel, you want low fares, you want reliable service, and you want a direct flight. Avelo Air gives you all of that and more. Avelo Air has direct flights to take Tigers fans to spring training in Lakeland. Avelo Air will take you from Grand Rapids to Lakeland directly on Thursdays and Sundays. They will take you directly from Detroit to Lakeland on Wednesdays and Saturdays. You literally land 20 minutes from the ballpark. You don't have to wait in lines. You don't have to worry about any of that other hassle. This is hassle-free travel like you deserve. Go to aveloair.com and get $20 off a base fare round-trip flight to Lakeland when you book your trip by March 31st. All you have to do is use the code HUGE. That's HUGE on aveloair.com. Restrictions do apply. See aveloair.com for details today.
For the best morning sports talk across the great state of Michigan, you are listening to X's and Bros with Matt Shepard.
Back with you at 35 after the hour on X's and Bros. You can always text us, and as always, our friend Freddie the Pizza Man does just that. If you get a chance, check out his shop in Melvindale. It's phenomenal. The pizzas is, and I mean this sincerely. I don't say this because he's a friend of the program and a consistent texter. It's as good as you will ever have. It's fantastic. Mastacholi's not bad either. He says, this is strictly watching from the combine. A couple of guys stuck out to me. A cornerback from Georgia, the linebacker from Ohio State, Sonny Styles. To me, the Lions are in no position to draft need. I would say, are they ever in a position to draft need? Is anybody in a position to draft need? It's a really good question that oftentimes, I don't know, I think fans in general, we get caught up in what a team needs instead of who the best player is, because we don't always know who the best player is. Okay. What we do is we look at things and we go, okay, this team needs this. So that's what we get caught up in. This team needs this. That's what we should do. And that's how you get in trouble. I've said it time and time again, and I will stay with that for sure. Okay. You draft the best player available, and then you narrow it down from there. So that's my philosophy. I'm not sure the Georgia corner you might be referring to there, Freddie. Maybe it's Dalen Everett. I'm not sure. But I don't all the not mock drafts, but all the various websites that rank players, I don't see many Georgia corners, if you're talking about corners, as rated super high among the class. Okay. And I think it's pretty consistent with the safeties too. So I'm not sure exactly which one you're referring to, but Sonny Styles had an unbelievable combine, like a record-setting combine. He says, would love to see them trade up for Sonny. To me, he looks like a guy who can be a future All-Pro / Hall of Famer as an outside linebacker and a defensive end stud, maybe another Derek Thomas. Another Derek Thomas, who is a Hall of Famer, as you know, and was a 9-time Pro Bowler and 2-time All-Pro, 11 years in the league, a phenomenal player, double digits in terms of sacks, including all but 3 years in his tenure in Kansas City. Once led the league with 20 sacks as well. I think the combine is important. I'm not going to lie. How much I take into the combine compared to how they play during their seasons in college football is completely different. I would guess Sonny Styles, if he's not on most people's boards, he would be on just about every single board as the number one linebacker. He's 6'5", 243 pounds. He's an absolute beast. He comes from a winning program. I don't know how much that matters to you, because there's plenty of really good players who've come from programs that aren't necessarily chock full of victories. But a lot of people feel like that's a really important piece. Okay. So I would get, do you need a guy like that? You're going to need a guy like that because Alex Anzalone's not going to be here. What would you have to move up to get him? I don't know. I don't know how far you got to go. You're at 17. How far you got to go? You got to get into the top 10 for a guy like that, I would guess. I think he is, this is another reason why you go, okay, would you really draft for need? I want you to think about it for a minute. Raiders, Browns, whomever, okay? Is there a quarterback right now you envision being an All-Pro? Any of the quarterbacks available? Do you envision any of them being an All-Pro? And I kind of asked that question knowing that we're not all scouts. We're not the guys who are ready to break down a lot of tape. But is Fernando Mendoza at 6'5", 2.25", is he for sure a Pro Bowler? Is Ty Simpson? Is Cole Payton North Dakota State, who visited with the Lions quite a bit, is Garrett Nussmeier, Kate Klubnik, Drew Aller, Carson Beck, any of them. Any of those guys. Taylor Green, Arkansas, who had an unbelievable combine number that he put up there at 6'5", 235. Any of those guys, for sure, all pro material. I know, nothing's certain. Let me phrase it a different way. Is Fernando Mendoza closer to being an all-pro or Sonny Styles? Are you trying to tell me there's not a team that's among those who are drafting highly who couldn't use a guy like that, as in Sonny Styles? To be an insert starter from day one and be an impact player. He sure has the resume to do that. Don't tell me he doesn't. I'm not looking like Freddie is at just his combine numbers. Look at what he did during his tenure at Ohio State. That's what you need to look at first and foremost, since we don't have, there's been plenty of guys who've impressed us with broad jumps and bench presses and so on and so forth. Do I need to remind you of who Mike Mamula is? I don't think so. But this is a big guy who plays off the ball, actually transitioned from safety at Ohio State. All right. Two-time first team All Big Ten. All right. So he's got great size, does a great job shooting the gaps and so on and so forth. Are there negatives? I don't think there's ever been a scouting report on a player that doesn't have a negative. So I read one the other day about Sonny Styles because I was impressed with what he did at the combine too. Eyes can linger on backfield action. There are guys who are considered some of the best in the league who that happens to. In other words, play action. Oops. But I don't know, Freddie. Could the Lions use a guy like that? I mean, Jack Campbell's kind of an off-ball defense linebacker. I suppose they could. You would get pushback from a lot of people who feel like you've got to address need there. You wouldn't get pushback from me. If he were there at 17, happened to fall, you'd have to wonder why. But yeah, I mean, but he's not going to be there. I see Detroit associated on every mock draft I've watched. Everyone with need. Maybe that coincides, perhaps, with who might be available and with where that player is expected to fall no matter what. So that could be. Okay. Here's a text. Lions need a big-time star on defense at outside linebacker or corner to go with really good players like Hutchinson and Campbell. Okay. They don't have a great track record of drafting corners, do they? I'm not saying you never draft another one. I'm just telling you, how many corners have they hit on? Terrion Arnold had incredible grades coming out of Alabama. Jeff Okudah was considered the next great corner in the draft. You and I are old enough to go back to Terry Fair and Bryant Westbrook and guys like that. I asked somebody this the other day. Who's the last great is probably overused, all right? Think about this for a second, Trent. Who's the last really good? I'm not even looking for great. Really good corner the Lions have drafted. Don't give me Dre Bly. It's Darius Slay.
Yep, and that was a second rounder, right? So
it was. And his greatness was more in Philadelphia than it was Detroit because they don't know what the hell they're doing. But that's it. Okay? They haven't had a great track record of that. I'm sorry to say that. I don't want to burst people's bubble. I don't think it's fair to say that Brad Holmes should be thrown into the same conversation as Matt Millen and Bob Quinn and the like.
Well, there are certain franchises and schools and sports that just have, for whatever reason, they just seem to have a track record with certain positions. You know, like the Spurs can draft big men very well.
That happens when you get the number 1 overall.
That's
pick.
true. With Wemby especially.
I mean, so we're talking about Victor Wembanyama, Tim Duncan, and David Robinson. Is that fair?
Yes.
All were first overall picks.
Yeah, that's true. But David Robinson, though, didn't he have to sit out a year?
Well, yeah, but that's because he was in the Navy.
I know, but that could have deterred them from going that way. I'm just saying that there
the
are.
Could have done the same with Roger Staubach. No offense to anybody out there in the Spurs organization, but Trent Bally and Matt Shepard, 6 beers deep, could have drafted Victor Wembanyama.
Of course, we could have.
And I could have done shots at Soaring Eagles Ascend, and we could have drafted Tim Duncan. I don't know, man.
I'm just saying there's a certain reputation with certain positions tied to certain organizations, and unfortunately the Lions have one for not being able to hit on defensive backs.
Right. I look at being able to do that by being creative. I would say the Boston Celtics are better at that only because of what they were able to maneuver to get Kevin McHale and Robert Parrish, for example. That's back in the day. That doesn't mean it's consistent. If you look at defensive backs, it's not terrible because Brian Branch is a defensive back.
I mean, right now they've got 2 really good safeties. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a hit. Okay. And remember, he didn't start as a safety. He started as the nickel, right? He wasn't immediately inserted at safety.
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay. So I guess you can give a little credit there. We get burned a little bit when we're not bringing up Chase Lucas. Okay. It's a 7th round draft pick in 2022. I'm not going to do that. But we get burned a little bit because Terrion Arnold hasn't worked out. Enos Rakestraw has been a massive disappointment. And Jeff Okudah was a joke at the 3rd overall pick. Again, I would remind people, Jeff Okudah, coming out of Ohio State, was considered the next best corner in the National Football League. People were thrilled with him. So I hear this all the time. He's a small corner. Jeff Okudah was 6'1", 210 pounds, and a really good player at Ohio State. He came from, maybe this is all just happenstance. He comes from a state-crazed state or a football-crazed state in Texas. He comes from one of the best football programs in America at Ohio State. Some would argue Alabama, Ohio State, then everybody else. His numbers in college were really impressive. His numbers at the combine were impressive. And yet, it didn't work out. Typical Lions, some people may say. Fair, I guess. But think about that. The last really good cornerback, cover corner that the Lions drafted, I would say, is Darius Slay. And that's just too long ago. Sorry, but if I got to go back to 2013, and that's the last example I have, that's a serious issue. Nevin Lawson. Anybody remember him as a 4th round pick? I didn't think so. Alex Carter. Anybody remember him as a 3rd round pick? I suppose you could throw Condre Diggs in there. Unfortunately, Condre Diggs, more of a safety, but he was drafted as a corner, okay, out of Texas. His best years, not in Detroit, because Bob Quinn got all pissed off at him, or Matt Patricia, got all pissed off at him. Jamal Agnew. Nope. People aren't writing home about him. Tease Tabor. People aren't writing home about him.
That was one of the worst ones.
With a laughing emoji. Okay. These are the guys. I'm not saying don't draft one. I'm just telling you got to be careful when you say, well, this is what they need. Of course they need that. They've even tried free agency. They've tried trading. They traded for Carlton Davis. Didn't stick around. Free agency, DJ Reed. It's been a serious issue. So I don't disagree with you. They need somebody like that. Shep, did Todd McClellan do the same thing that Dave Dombrowski did, except with multiple unnamed players? No. Dave Dombrowski called out his star player, Bryce Harper. Yes, Trey Turner's a star. Yes, JT Realmuto's a star. Yes, Kyle Schwarber's a star. Nick Castellanos used to be. Zach Wheeler's a star. He said specifically one guy. Todd McClellan was being generic. Todd McClellan's also right. I'm not sure Dave Dombrowski is. Bryce Harper is on Team USA in the World Baseball Classic. There's a reason for that. It's not because of reputation. It's because he's still a great player. I know it's getting older, but he's still an elite player. Most people would take him on their team. There are guys on the Red Wings, as Todd McClellan pointed out after the loss to Carolina. There are guys on the Red Wings who you wouldn't take on your team. There's one thing being a starter and a star. There's another thing being a hanger-on as a third or fourth liner. So I don't think it's the same thing. Our phone number on the Meyer hotline, 866-838-4843. Did you see what one team is doing in baseball and what they're doing for their fans? It's the St. Louis Cardinals. Here's what the Cardinals are doing. They've got a ticket package right now. Now, they're not supposed to be very good, but why should that matter? If you're caring about your fan base, should it really matter? The Cardinals are introducing a ticket package starting at $29. Here's what it includes. Bottomless soda. You drink as much soda as you want. All those wasted calories, all that sugar, right? Have as much as you want. Hot dogs, chicken tenders, bratwurst, nachos, fries, popcorn, peanuts, chips, and ice cream. All the stuff that's really good for you, you know. So for $29, you can have all that. Sit there and throw up in the stands if you want to for $29. I don't know how much they may lose on that. There's a part of me that says it just shows you what the price point might be for a franchise compared to you, the consumer. But $29, not bad. Would you do that?
I would.
If you would?
Yeah, I would. Because if you think about it,
or a franchise or both.
Say what?
As a fan, would you buy that?
As a fan, I would do it. As a franchise,
or would you do it as a franchise?
As a franchise, I'd not do that. No.
You would not do it. Okay.
I think that's a hell of a bargain, to be honest.
I think you could get away with that as a little bit more, not just $29.
Agreed.
Like $39, I think. At what point does that no longer become a deal? You'd do it for $39, wouldn't you? I would.
Yeah.
Would you do it for $49?
Probably not.
Okay. So it
I think
stops
50
at
is too
about
much.
$39. $50 is too much. Again, bottomless soda, hot dogs, chicken tenders, bratwurst, nachos, fries, popcorn, peanuts, chips, and ice cream. There's not anything in there that is healthy for you. There's only so much you notice there's no alcohol, of course. That's where they make their money. It's no different than a restaurant. That's where they make their money. It's a hell of a deal for Cardinals fans. I wish the Tigers would have some type of deal, not necessarily exactly like that, but allows you to, and maybe it's because they're good, allows you, the fan, to show that you're appreciated. 7:18, we've got Mitch Lyons. It's Mondays with Mitch. Always enjoy that. A big fellow is moving, and is this right now the best time in sports? What's the best time on your calendar for sports in general? We'll talk about that on the other side as we begin hour number 2 on X's and Bros on a Monday morning.
You've worked hard for decades saving in pre-tax retirement plans like 401ks and IRAs, saving on taxes now. But as your retirement now approaches, you're going to get taxed at rates you have no control over. Hi, I'm Mitch Lyons, founder of Mitch Lyons Wealth. Your 401k balance isn't worth what your statement says. You could lose thousands of dollars to taxes, and those distributions can impact other areas of your retirement like Social Security and Medicare. Could a Roth IRA conversion be of help to you? You've probably heard of Roth conversions, but it can be confusing. Should you convert all at once or over time? Where should you pay the taxes from? How do you know for sure? Get our free personalized Roth Blueprint analysis today to find out exactly what makes sense for you. Your Roth Blueprint could potentially increase your lifetime wealth by thousands of dollars. So get your free Roth Blueprint today. Text Blueprint to 844-867-8335. That's Blueprint to 844-867-8335. Or go to MitchLyonsWealth.com, your best game plan to protect, grow, and win retirement.
Ferris Coffee has been family owned and operated for over 100 years. Its popular Den Blend and Dark Roast is more than coffee and more than the official coffee of the Detroit Lions. It's a call to rise. Ferris Coffee and the Lions are the perfect match. They embrace those who show up early, cheer loud, and never back down. Den Blend is perfectly roasted in Grand Rapids and provides the ultimate fuel for fans who wake up and roar. Whether you're tailgating at the game or cheering from your couch, Den Blend is your go-to coffee for your game day ritual.
Hear that? That's the sound of saving a good deal more when you shop with M-Perks at Meijer. Some delicious Cosmic Crisp apples, money saved. Meijer Essential Paper Towels, that's money saved. Savings, savings, savings. Because every dollar spent is also points earned in M-Perks, which you can use to save on your next grocery trip or up to $1 off per gallon on your next tank of gas. At Meijer, we work hard to help you save a good deal more for a whole lot less. That's bringing more good to life. Exclusions apply. See mperks.com for details.
Huge here for the annual Grand Rapids Griffins Purple Community Game, which is coming up on Friday, March 13th at Van Andel Arena in downtown GR. It's a night dedicated to supporting research into diseases like cancer and Parkinson's at Van Andel Institute. The Griffins will be taking on the Milwaukee Admirals in special purple jerseys, and you'll have a chance to bid on a limited edition purple jersey of your own after the game. It's a night you won't want to miss. Learn more about the Grand Rapids Griffins Purple Community Game at vai.org/events and also at griffinshockey.com.
You are listening to X's and Bros with Matt Shepard on the Michigan Sports Network, but you don't need to be in Michigan to tune us in. Search XB Mornings on X or X's and Bros on YouTube.
Hey, back with you on this Monday, March 2nd, first Monday in March. Welcome, everybody. Glad you're with us on X's and Bros. An honor to be with you, just because I know you've got a lot of different options, and I know you got a lot of busy things going on in your life, and to give us a little bit of your day is greatly appreciated. I'm Matt Shepard. Trent Balley's alongside as well. He's our producer, and the Pistons were winners in Orlando last night. So Detroit now with 45 wins already. So they surpassed last year's 44 win total. They've got 45 wins for the first time since 2008. Cade Cunningham boasts a double-double. Tobias Harris had 23 points. Jalen Duren had a double-double. They're in Cleveland tomorrow night. MSU beats Indiana by a lot. They've been in by 13, 77-64. Jackson Kohler, he rises to the occasion. Similar to the way he was playing earlier in the year. He had a double-double, 21 points, 13 boards. Jeremy Fears was an assist shy of a double-double. Kurt Tang had 18 points. And Michigan State is 24 up and 5 down. Red Wings are in Nashville tonight, and Nico Echevarria wins the Cognizant Open after Shane Lowry was up 3 with 3 to play and just absolutely melted down, fell apart. It's tough to watch, especially in golf. I don't know why it's more pronounced in golf, because it's a singular event, I suppose.
I think that's
Baseball,
why, because you control your own destiny, so to speak.
Yeah.
So when you don't,
when you see a pitcher have problems, can't find it, there's somebody to rescue him, right? I mean,
Yes.
The manager comes out, I want the lefty, I want the righty out of the bullpen. Somebody help us. And there's a pat on the back. Golf is doing it. That caddy's just going, holy crap, man, my commission's going down with every swing. What the hell's, people are going, come on, pull it together. You can't find anybody. There's no coach to come in and say, hey, this is what you're doing. I mean, Shane Lowry said it yesterday. He says, I didn't know where the club face was going. And it sure looked like it was opening up because everything was pushed to the right. The Mitch Lineswell poll question, which free agent defensive end would you want the Lions to sign? Khalil Mack, Trey Hendrickson, Joey Bosa, or Arden Key? Maybe I should have put other instead of Arden Key, but he can get after it too. It's an interesting question, I think. Rather than other, I put Arden Key in there. My guess is most people are not even sure which team he plays for. You can vote as often as you want at XB Mornings, and I've
and you blame them.
I can't blame them. I've retweeted it as well. Get some comments too from YouTube and from Facebook and from X. So here's one. Come on, it's no secret, Shep's love for Pop.
Yeah. Regarding the Spurs conversation, we know Shep's a big Greg Popovich fan.
Yeah, that's a good one from Joe Gersman. We appreciate it, Joe. A good man who's a massive Purdue fan, so he's a little bit in mourning today, and I don't blame him because Purdue, believe it or not, lost at Ohio State. Yeah, Greg Popovich. I heard somebody say, I think he's the best coach in NBA history. And I went, wow. You're bypassing guys like Red Auerbach, Phil Jackson, Pat Riley. And before people start to say, and I'm not saying this guy's better than this, but I think Eric Spoelstra's a hell of a coach. Before people say, well, those guys had super teams, because Pat Riley had Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and Magic Johnson and James Worthy and Byron Scott and AC Green and Michael Cooper, and Phil Jackson had those Bulls teams, and Red Auerbach, of course, had the mighty Celtics, led by Bill Russell and Bob Cousy, later John Havlicek and Dave Cowens. I'm like, wait a minute, hold on. Greg Popovich, did he not have 3 guys who any team would want, and Tim Duncan, Manu Ginobili, and Tony Parker?
He absolutely did, but he also built the team, and I think maybe that's where people give him a little more of an edge. But strictly as a coach, I completely agree with you. There's a lot of names you can get to before Popovich, even though Popovich would be in a handful at the top.
Yeah, I would remind you that Red Auerbach built his teams in the Celtics.
Yeah,
different
okay,
era.
so
I
there you go.
understand
Yeah,
but
so
he built
that
his
could be your
teams.
argument.
And
for
if
Red
you
Auerbach.
don't think Pat Riley and Jerry West were working hip to hip, and if you don't think Phil Jackson and Jerry Krause were working hip to hip, then you're not familiar with the NBA. It's not just, I want this guy, I'm going to go get him. Now you have to do something with him. It's a collaborative effort. So Greg Popovich, I ask you this, was he the general manager of the Spurs throughout that time?
I don't know if he was GM or if he was president. I don't remember exactly what his title was.
Because I know he was later on. Okay. I know he was
You're saying so when they were winning titles, was he the GM? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out, because he gets a lot of credit for what you just said, building the team. Okay. And he was, I think he is he retired now, or is he still the president of basketball operations?
He's retired.
Okay.
But I think it was retired. In Tim Duncan's Hall of Fame speech, he made the joke about how when he singled out Pop when he drafted Ginobili, and everyone was like, who the hell is this guy? What is he doing? And then Ginobili ends up being a 6 man of the year type player. So
yeah. Okay.
It sure seems the players viewed him as the GM.
Okay. Yeah. Fair enough. I'm just trying. I know he was, I think he became the general manager in the mid-90s. And so I just remember there was a R.C. Buford who was, pretty involved with the Spurs as well.
Yeah, he was a hot name. Whatever happened to him?
Well, he was the head scout in San Antonio.
Because I remember for a while, he was like the number one GM.
In 1994, Popovich was the general manager. In 2002, he relinquished that position to R.C. Buford. So there you go.
Okay, gotcha.
So it's not like he did it by himself. There's a belief that he's the creator of all that is in the NBA. And he gets a little old.
Including load management. Don't forget that.
Oh, well, hey, listen, I mean, if you're going to give him credit for all the good things he's done, give him credit for the bad things he's done. Apparently, people don't think that's a bad thing any longer. If he introduced that part of the league in which most people I know can't stand that part of the league.
He normalized it. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a good way of putting it. He normalized it. All right, let's get to the text. Go ahead.
This is a good question. It says, I know it's not meant to be, but is Todd McClellan's comment an indictment on Steve Yzerman with regard to the players he's acquired or on Todd's ability to get more out of those players?
No, I don't want to read too much into one comment made by a head coach. He's talking about the here and now. He's not saying we need help, make a trade. He's talking about his upper echelon players need help from within right now. He's not sitting there saying what Dylan Larkin said a year ago at the trade deadline. The trade deadline is this Friday, by the way, March 6th. What he's saying is these guys can't be hangers on. They can't just be here wearing a jersey. We need more out of them. And he doesn't specifically name players, nor should he. Most people can figure out who he's talking about. Okay. So I don't look at it like it's an open plea to Steve Yzerman. You've got to help us. Steve Yzerman recognizes it more than he does. My guess is Yzerman and McClellan talk on a regular basis. Most general managers and head coaches do. They're not breaking down every single game on film with one another, but they are talking quite a bit. What do we like? What don't we like? Where do we need to get better? How are we addressing getting better? They're monitoring the players in Grand Rapids. You look at some of the Grand Rapids improvement. There might be a situation where they're talking about, let's bring up Nygaard and give him a second shot and send somebody down or cut somebody because they're not carrying their weight the way they should. I don't think it's an open plea by any stretch of please make a deal. I think Steve Yzerman's going to make a deal. And we'll explain at 7:35 because the Red Wings have been linked to a lot of different players. And it should give us a lot of hope. How much? Look, there was a report over the weekend, Tyler Myers, the big hulking defenseman in Vancouver, who doesn't have a lot of points, but he's a second pairing defenseman. It would strengthen your second pairing. The Red Wings offered a second-round pick for him. And it's a big name. He's 33, but it's a big name. It's a big body. You have three of the biggest guys on defense in the entire NHL. Mondays with Mitch. Mitch Lyon's going to join us on the other side. We'll talk Spartans, we'll talk Tigers, and a whole lot more. Stay with us. This is X's and Bros on a Monday morning, and we're brought to you by Meijer.
Hear that? That's the sound of saving a good deal more when you shop with M-Perks at Meijer. Some delicious Cosmic Crisp apples, money saved. Meijer Essential Paper Towels, that's money saved. Savings, savings, savings. Because every dollar spent is also points earned in M-Perks, which you can use to save on your next grocery trip or up to $1 off per gallon on your next tank of gas. At Meijer, we work hard to help you save a good deal more for a whole lot less. That's bringing more good to life. Exclusions apply. See mperks.com for details.
Huge here for Josh Garvey and his team at Dorn Mayhew, West Michigan. Now, they continue to grow. They got their worldwide headquarters in Troy, Michigan, on the east side of the state. They are worldwide. They are the leaders when it comes to accounting, CPA, and business needs. Simple and easy. Just Google Dorn Mayhew. And also, Josh Garvey joins me every Tuesday as we talk hoops with former Michigan and Cleveland Cavaliers head coach John Beilein. Tuesdays, 5 p.m., Josh Garvey, Coach Beilein, and myself, we talk Michigan, Michigan State, and the Pistons. Talking hoops happens all the way through the NBA Finals. And could you imagine if the Pistons are in the NBA Finals? If you ever have a hoops question for us, you can drop it at Huge Show on Twitter, The Huge Show on Facebook, and Talking Hoops every Tuesday at 5 p.m., presented by one of the world's top accounting, CPA, and business firms, Dorn Mayhew.
Avelo Airlines knows you love the Tigers because they love them too. It's why they have direct flights to Lakeland, Florida out of both Grand Rapids and Detroit. Thursdays and Sundays are nonstop out of GR, and Wednesdays and Saturdays are nonstop out of Detroit. So wherever you are in Michigan, you can get down to spring training to watch your Tigers. With everyday low fares, reliable service, you do not want to fly any other way. Head to AveloAir.com to book your trip now. That's AVELO air.com and use code HUGE for $20 off a round-trip base fare if you book before March 31st. Restrictions do apply.
Make sure you listen weekly to our Moving Ferris Forward interviews with Ferris President Bill Pink and other leaders who are moving Ferris forward. Find out more about Big Rapids and Ferris and what they have to offer at ferris.edu.
think we have very selective memories, certain things about events in sports. Welcome back, X's and Bros. I'll give you a quick example, and then we'll get to Mitch Lyons, our friend Mitch Lyons, MitchLyonsWealth.com. Everybody brings up Jared Goff's turnovers against Washington 2 years ago when Detroit went 15-2 as the number 1 seed. How many people talk about Jahmyr Gibbs' second half fumble against San Francisco? Not many. He's had some unbelievable games since, but so has Jared Goff. Just something to think about. We rarely touch on that. We're always touched on a Monday when Mitch Lyons joins us. Hope you had a great weekend, my friend. How are you?
I had an awesome weekend, Shep. Watched a little SEC baseball. Chased Grace's boyfriend, Andrew Landis, with Oakland University. Watched him play Georgia yesterday, so that was pretty cool.
How'd he do?
He did well. Came in bases loaded, pressure situation, 2 outs. They were down a run, and he got a big strikeout. So that was pretty cool. And pitched a few batters in the next inning. Did give up a hit, but yeah, it was fun. That's such a great setting down there, man. It's a great stadium, and it's just kind of cool to see the electricity of SEC baseball.
That's awesome. Well, if you ever come see him in Rochester, make sure you get in touch with me. We'll do lunch.
We will be down. We will be down for sure.
How much more? Speaking of really good performances, Michigan State didn't have just one. They've had two. I've actually had 4 in a row. Okay. You go into Mackey and you win the way they did against Purdue, down 7 early to come back and beat them in that atmosphere, and then open up a proverbial can on Indiana. Those are impressive wins. How much more confidence do you have in your alma mater now that the calendar's turned to March?
Well, a lot more confident. And the reason being is, in the Purdue game, Jackson Kohler didn't have a great game, right? But then they had, Cooper stepped up and they had other guys that stepped up in his absence. And then, it was good to see him bounce back yesterday with a great game, another double-double, which he's done a lot this year. And Kurt Tang hitting shots. Hey, everybody looks better when the ball goes in, right? And if they can hit 12, 13 threes, they're going to be tough to beat with anybody, the way they run, the way they defend, the way they rebound. So it's exciting. It's that time of year. And, it seems like Izzo and the boys are starting to get it dialed in for that tourney run.
What's the seeding you would expect them to be? I know you still have a few games left and there's some things outside of their control, but what would you expect them to be?
Yeah, I think realistically they're probably a 3 seed. Maybe they could.
I think
if they make
fair.
a run here and run through the Big Ten tournament, who knows? But second, third, it's kind of the same in my eyes. But I think they're solidly. I'd like to see them get a 3 seed, versus a 4. Hopefully they don't slip up. I think they've kind of worked their way up into that discussion. Most people had them as a 4 here for the bulk of the season, but I think they can get up there. But more importantly, and we've all seen it, it doesn't matter what they're seeded necessarily. Izzo's ready, always has them ready to go, and is a master in the turnaround games in the tournament.
Yeah, I think what's most important is where they're seated. In other words, where they're sent, not as much the seed.
Right.
But let's face it, there are certain times where, you'd rather be a 2 than a 3 at certain times, depending on who the 1 seed is in that region. So I do believe it does make a difference. Could you get on that 2 line? Sure. They're the second best team. Well, I guess they're tied with Nebraska. Nebraska would have the tiebreaker. They're the second best team in the Big Ten. And if you and I believe, and I think most people do, that the Big Ten is one of, if not the best basketball conference in America, then I don't think being a 2 seed or even a 3 seed, either one, is out of the realm of possibility for MSU. So I think that's important to keep note. Yeah. When you look at Kevin McGonigal, you were just talking about baseball. So you were watching baseball down in Florida. Kevin McGonigal has been unbelievable as a guy who hit 254 AA a year ago. Is the number 1 hitting prospect in all the minor leagues. He has really picked up kind of where he left off from the Arizona Fall League, and he has been turning heads in Lakeland. Would you take him north if he continues at this rate, or do you want to see him pause the clock until June or so?
If it's me, I'm bringing him north. This kid, he's comfortable. He's fitting in. The moment's not too big for him. AJ kind of broke him in there early on with the vets and trying to make him comfortable. And he, by all accounts, appears pretty comfortable at the plate. So I think you stick him in at short, you let him play, and I think the kid, if he's a superstar in waiting, then hey, let's unveil him and let him go. And kid's confident, obviously, and he's done it at every level, and let's let it rip. That's my opinion.
Look, I feel the exact same way. If he could be your Bobby Witt Jr., and Bobby Witt Jr. played 150 games his rookie year and hit 254, that's okay. Okay, struck out 135 times. That's okay. If Kevin McGonigal is going to play a solid short, you bet him at the bottom of your lineup, and you get him as many at bats as you possibly can. It's not like there's anybody at shortstop that is making a strong push to replace him. If he's this good, this consistently throughout spring training, you send the wrong message, I think, to everybody else who is also recognizing just how good this kid has been. So I don't disagree with you. David Montgomery.
I agree, and I'm excited. I'm excited to see him get that chance. Right? I mean, young kid, 21 years old, ready to seize the opportunity.
Yeah, amen to that. David Montgomery's made a lot of headlines in sports recently where people are speculating on whether or not he wants to be a Detroit Lion. Would you waive him, or would you do everything you could to try and keep him and integrate him more into the offense next year?
It's a tough one. Obviously he's making a chunk of change, and it's just so hard to take Jameer off the field. He's so electric and a game changer, and that's taking nothing away from Montgomery. But unfortunately, there's only one ball. I thought they would incorporate the two of them in last year. There was some talk of having both running backs in the lineup. Didn't see a whole heck of a lot of that, and I don't know. And he's not happy. I mean, and I don't begrudge him that. I mean, the guy's a competitor. There's places around the league he'd be running back one, and it's tough. You could tell from his body language last year. I mean, he wasn't happy. Maybe you save the money. Maybe go get another quality, backup that's content with, maybe getting 5-6 carries a game because Jameer's just too good. I mean, that's just, in my opinion, you can't take him off the field very often. And so I don't. It's a tricky situation, and it'll be curious to see how it plays out.
Due to make $8.3 million this year, would you trade 2 first-rounders and a significant starter for Max Crosby?
That's another one that, I mean, my brain probably says no, but my heart's saying, man, you've got a chance to win a title. Go get that other guy opposite of Hutch. And, maybe a first rounder pans out, maybe it doesn't. Is Max Crosby, would you draft him in the first round if he was available coming out of the NCAA this year?
Yes.
My answer would be yes. So would I give him an extra pick and maybe a decent player? I probably would, honestly. I just think if he's healthy, I mean, if you're confident that he's healthy, there's no guarantees, obviously, but if he's recovered from his knee and he's 100% full go, you stick that guy with his motor on the other side of Hutch, and I mean, that makes your secondary a lot better in a hurry because QBs are not going to have the same amount of time they otherwise had.
I would agree with you. Plus, he plays 94% of the snaps. He doesn't come off the field. I mean, he's really good against the run. Yeah, he's really good against the run. He knocks down passes. I would absolutely do it. It depends on who that player might be, I suppose. You don't want to weaken your defense any longer or anymore. Maybe a Liam McNeil. That would save you some money. Maybe a Jamison Williams. I'd do it in a second. Last thing, what's your philosophy on the NFL draft? If you're a general manager, how do you go into the NFL draft? Do you draft by need or do you draft by best player available and why?
I think it can vary depending on where your squad is, right? If you are on the cusp, and I feel like the Lions are on the cusp, they're right there. I don't think it's going to be a huge jump to get back in the playoffs and have a chance at a Super Bowl next year. I think in that situation, you try to solve a need. If you're building, if you're building for 3-4 years down the road and you're adding pieces, then you go get the best player available and just keep getting quality players on your team. So, I mean, but if you can't get, that player that you think you can plug in and he's going to be a starter day one, then, maybe I feel a little differently on that. But if you can, trade up and get a guy is going to be the man, then I think you got to go get him and fill that need.
Safe travels back home, my friend, and we'll continue to talk. It'll be a fun as we get closer toward the NCAA tournament. You could argue that this is the best time of year in sports, couldn't you? With the NCAA tournament,
when you're a Detroit sports fan or in the state of Michigan right now, it's a fantastic time between college hockey, pro hockey, basketball, college and pro. You got the off-season Lions stuff going on. You got the Tigers about to start up with a real chance to make a run. And yeah, so it's awesome. I'm looking forward to spring for sure.
All right, keep up the great work. Appreciate it. Safe travels back from Florida. Enjoy
Georgia,
the rest of your week.
yeah.
Or Georgia. I'm sorry, Georgia.
There you
They're
go.
both
Right.
sunnier than Michigan.
Yeah,
Good
much
stuff.
so.
Thanks.
About 78 yesterday was awesome.
Ooh. All right, you're making me jealous again. Mitch Lyons, MitchLyonsWealth.com. Call him today, 866-85-STEEL. Sign up for his free newsletter. You can pick up his book, Retirement of Steel, on the website. It's free, and you can check out him being a featured expert in the documentary Retirement Deception. There's a streaming code on the website as well. We're back with more after this. We're brought to you by Meijer.
The Freddie the Pizza Man Foundation is dedicated to providing support to families and Michigan schools touched by autism. We invite you to join us in supporting these families and schools by making a donation at FreddieThePizzaMan.com. With your donation, you can help provide essential resources that can make a real impact. Visit FreddieThePizzaMan.com to make a donation and to learn more about the foundation's mission. That's FREDI, thepizzaman.com. Together, we can make a difference.
Save a good deal more during the Meijer Dollar Deal Sale, February 18th through March 3rd. Shop the entire store and choose from more than 800 items, all $1 each, like extra large navel oranges, Meijer frozen personal pizza, and Meijer facial tissue. And now, shopping dollar deals in our weekly ad just got easier. Click an item and add it to your cart. It's that simple. The Meijer Dollar Deal Sale and an easier way to shop our digital ad. That's the good life, a good deal better. Exclusions apply. See all deals in the Meijer app.
Thanks for tuning in to X's and Bros with Matt Shepard, only on the Michigan Sports Network.
Back with you on X's and Bros Monday through Friday, 6 until 9. Thanks for being with us. Appreciate the time very much. There are, we said just before the break, we were asking Mitch Lyons in Mondays with Mitch, is this the best time of the year in sports? You could make that argument for sure. I mean, when you got MLB opening day this month, you've got the World Baseball Classic, even though Tarek Skubal's only going to pitch one game. You've got the NCAA tournament coming up. The NBA and NHL playoffs are right around the corner. The intensity is magnified a little bit more. There's a consistent number of mock drafts. If that turns your turnstile there, you're getting closer. You're getting closer. Perhaps April, maybe that's a little bit better, but you're just coming off the tail end of March Madness. There are other times, I'm sure, that people feel are the best moments of your sports calendar.
I think it has to be the
second
spring
round. I would say the second round of the NFL playoffs. You've got NBA, you've got NHL, you've got college football all going on at the same time.
So you'd say mid-January, perhaps?
You've got college basketball, college football. What's here? Let me answer it this way. What's the biggest sport?
Football.
Okay. The NFL?
Yes, NFL.
Okay. What's the second biggest sport?
College football.
Okay. Is it not hard to have the greatest moment in the calendar, excluding the two biggest sports?
Yeah, on its face, that's pretty stupid. Yeah, I agree. But it's hard. It's hard to argue against March and April, like you just said, though.
Yeah, but if you have the NFL and the NBA is playing, and college basketball is playing, and college football is playing, and the NHL is playing, what are you missing? You're missing the elite part of college basketball, right?
Yes.
But it's not like it's bad basketball. You're into conference play. So just bear with me for a minute. So you're missing the elite part of college basketball. You're missing the elite part of the NHL. Okay. But in March, you're still missing the elite part of the NHL, and you are completely void of the two largest sports entities in our country. But you're replacing it with spring training baseball, mock drafts? I don't think so. The Masters are right around the corner. January, you're getting, well, you're not quite into golf season. Yeah, you're getting into the early part of golf
there,
season.
but it's not.
Yeah, but that's not moving people's needle anyway.
It's to your point, Shep, about do you value just the volume of sports or does it matter where those certain sports are in their seasons? And that I think is more the argument for January, because it's like then you have NFL playoffs and the college football playoff, and then you sprinkle in the other sports, but they're not at the height of their season.
It's the major part of it. But again, that's why I bring up in March, you are void of the two largest sports by your definition.
Yeah, completely void.
Completely void of the National Football League and college football. Everything else pales in comparison. It pales in comparison.
In every way. Fans, ratings.
Except for March Madness. Would you sacrifice March Madness for the NFL and college football?
Probably
Or
not.
would you sacrifice... Okay, so
I would think about it because I love the tournament.
Let me finish
Go
here.
ahead.
Or would you sacrifice the NFL and college football for March Madness? You'd rather have March Madness over college football and the NFL. That's your choice. Then don't tell me that the number one thing is the NFL and college football, because for you, it's March Madness.
Yeah, and I still would take the NFL plus college football over March Madness. Okay. I'm just saying it's probably closer for me than others, but it's not close in a vacuum. You're right.
Okay.
You got to take football, man.
That's the only reason I bring it up. Okay. I get opening day is a big deal for people. That's still a little bit of ways away. There are some who feel like Christmas Day is it, because you now have the NFL and the NBA as part of it. Maybe you're a horse racing nut and you love Kentucky Derby. Maybe you're a tennis nut and you want Wimbledon. I think you're in the minority there. I think most sports fans in our country are all about the National Football League and college football, but more importantly, not the regular season. Remember, when I bring up January, I'm talking about national championship contenders or college football playoffs, and I'm talking about the second round. We're talking about divisional play here. This is not a throwaway game in Germany between Jacksonville and Chicago.
Right.
We're bringing up the biggest moments of those two sports. They are the equivalent to March Madness of college basketball.
For sure. And that's where, again, it matters more where those sports are at in their respective seasons, much more than just, oh, I have football. Right. No, it's you have playoff football.
Like even in January, Trent, you have the anticipation of Major League Baseball.
Yeah, everything.
Well, no, I mean, Major League Baseball, the training camps will open in February. So spring training opens in February. So you're at least taking a peek ahead. When you're in March, how far away are you from something that is relevant in college football or the National Football League?
You're a month away from the draft.
You're a month away from the draft. And that's just the draft, okay? And let's face it, that's because the National Football League has made that one of the biggest events on their calendar. Nobody does that with the NBA draft. Nobody does it with Major League Baseball draft or the NHL draft. They don't.
And that's why the NFL's genius.
Right. But I'm saying that they've made that important to you.
Yeah,
they've made it a TV event. They've made it appointment viewing.
And that's why you get 700,000 plus people piling into downtown Detroit at Campus Martius. You wouldn't get that if the NFL didn't make it such a big deal.
I mean, who in their right mind goes and stands and watches somebody announce a name and that player come out? You don't get a chance to touch that player. You don't get a chance to talk to that player. All you do is see that player walk out on stage. You slam a beer, high five your buddy, and point to the guy and say, I'm buying your jersey next week. That's what it is. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll see what happens with that, and we'll see how people feel about it in general. Speaking of football, I suppose if you're going to make the argument that at the end of February, early into March, it kind of seeps into March a little bit, you do have the NFL Combine. Did you see that? Have you seen the Miami offensive line and Markel Bell? Did you see what he did
No.
over the weekend? He's 6'9", 346 pounds. 6'9", 346. That is big boy rolling. You know what he ran in the 40? He ran a 5.36. Some of my favorite comments to listen to are fans saying how slow a guy is. Now, you can be fast, but also play slow. You can be slow, but play fast. There is that possibility. But you've got a big guy like that. Most people wouldn't. You would look at a 6'9", 346-pound guy and say, I could run away from that guy. And then you see those types of numbers, and you would say, no, you can't. They are a lot faster. I used to say this about Sean Rogers all the time. Sean Rogers was a defensive tackle for the Detroit Lions. I covered him while he was here at the Silverdome, and shows my age. And he, I used to say, I can't believe how fast that guy is. And I would have friends who say, what are you talking about fast? I said, that dude is fast and quick. He would blow you away in a race. What? No way. Just because he was a big guy, right? I'm not sure we truly understand how fast 5 feet in the 40 is. Because what do? Well, we look at what guys are running as wide receivers and running backs and so on and so forth. And we recognize, wow, a 4.40 is incredible, right?
Yeah.
Well, so is a 5.2 40 for a guy who's 6'9", 346 pounds.
Yeah, like he's a good amount quicker than a second behind that. Think about that. You know, you've got Jahmyr Gibbs or Tyreek Hill or Jameson Williams, pick your poison, flying. And it might look like he's behind them by quite a bit, but it's less than a second, man.
Yeah. Less than a second. That's incredible. For his size, it's simply amazing. And by the way, I don't know if I said this. I thought I said Sean Rogers was the first-round pick. He was a second-round pick, just so you know. Second-round pick. I forget where he went to school. I think it was Texas. But anyway, we move on. Our Meyer hotline, 866-838-4843. You could text the program, Sports Radio 21,000. All right. I want to get to some text here, but first, let me bring this into full circle with the NHL. The trade deadline is Friday, March 6th. I don't know if there's a more connected NHL writer, commentator than Elliot Friedman, based out of Canada, does some stuff for TSN, TNT. He joined a podcast or a broadcast the other day where they were asking about specific players. Now, Detroit needs, I think, a second-line centerman, and I think they need a defenseman, all right? And if it's not a second-line centerman, they need a top six forward, all right? Somebody had texted me earlier and said, who do you think Todd McClellan's talking about? And I'm not sure, because you can't just look at last night's efforts, okay? Mason Appleton was a -2. Albert Johansson was a -2. ASP was a -2. James Van Riemsdyk, who I've liked a lot this year, was a -2. Van Riemsdyk's a -22 on the year. He's the worst player in a plus-minus on the season.
Imagine that. I mean, if you told me that even a month ago, I'd be like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, it's been bad. I mean, he's had some big moments. He should not be a top six forward, and at times he's not playing as a top six forward. I think Marco Kasper is one of the guys. -14 on the season, seems to disappear. Simon Edvinsson has more goals than Marco Kasper. That's a problem, okay? Edvinsson's a defenseman. He's missed some time. Kasper has not been the same player he was a year ago. I don't like the way Albert Johansson has played at all right? I'm not saying that's who Todd McClellan's talking about, but those are two names that immediately come to mind, are supposed to be young players and are supposed to ascend to a different role and a better role for themselves. Detroit needs some help. There's no question. This is what Elliot Friedman said in connection with the Red Wings on some big names in the trade industry now. Go ahead.
He prefers the East. Like, I think the Kings have been around it. I think Utah has been around it. I think those teams know that it's not likely. So Minnesota, not that far away, Central Time Zone. I think they're still in it, but I also think teams like Carolina and Detroit have been there. You know, we've got a few days to sort them out. The Ranger ask is high. It should be high. He did nothing at the Olympics that would make you think any less of him as a player. He took a role. He was a great teammate in that role, and he was huge at the end of the game on that penalty kill. So it's those kinds of teams, Minnesota, Detroit, Carolina. I always assume I'm missing something. When he signed initially with the Rangers, Detroit was the runner-up. So I always think that the Red Wings could circle back on this one as well.
Elliot Friedman talking about Vincent Trocheck, one of the guys that I have said for a while now I'd like to see Detroit get. I would like to see, he's a true second line center. He's great at faceoffs. He's a hungry, gritty player. He's not an elite scorer by any stretch, but he will help you. He doesn't have, you're going to get him for 3 more years. Okay. Steve Yzerman has said this. He didn't want to do the deal with Quinn Hughes because he had 1 year left on the contract and he wasn't guaranteed to come back. He wasn't going to give up assets for a short-term fix. Vincent Trocheck at $5.6 million is not a bad deal. The other team that's in it is Minnesota. So Billy Guerin for the Wild is going for it. Trocheck has some history in the state of Michigan, which is great. And he's a good teammate. You saw that in the Olympics. There was a willingness there to do what the team needed him to do. I'm not sure what it would take, okay? I'm not going to speculate on that, but I'm glad that Detroit is in on Vincent Trocheck. I'm glad that they're in on Robert Thomas from St. Louis. I'm glad that they're in on Elias Pettersson from Vancouver. Now I would like to see who they're honing in on defensively, because we've talked about Tyler Myers. And even though he's not a high-end guy, even though Tyler Myers is not one of those guys that's going to make you forget that you didn't get Quinn Hughes, okay? He's not the same type of player. He's a good player. He's probably more of a stay-at-home player than he would anything else, but he would solve a need for this team without a doubt. And And look, Vancouver is getting rid of guys. Here's my concern. And Tyler Myers plays 20 minutes a game, so that's good. My concern is he's a minus 25 on the year. He has 1 goal, and he's a minus 25. That, to me, is a problem. Doesn't shoot a lot. He's basically, you could almost leave him. If I were to talk about it in NBA terms, you would say, well, let him have a clean look at a 3. You play off him. And that's kind of how it's been for Tyler Myers. Okay? Teams are, go ahead, play off him. Because he's not much of a threat. But at 6'8", 230 pounds, age 36, I think he's only got 1 year left. You wouldn't have to give up a lot to get him. I would love it if it were Tyler Myers back in the day. Okay? Back when he was scoring 17 goals and had a plus 15 and was registering 66 points and all that other stuff. That would be great. But that's not who he is any longer. So that's my big concern with him. That's why I'd rather have a guy like Dougie Hamilton, who would probably cost you more to pry him away from New Jersey. Hamilton's big. Hamilton's powerful. Hamilton's a top 4 defenseman. Hamilton's a right-handed shot. And Hamilton can at least put up numbers still. So there's a little different. I'd rather have Justin Falk. But again, this comes with a price too. Tyler Myers is not going to cost as much. These other guys will. In fairness to Tyler Myers, who's he playing with? That's oftentimes what you have to figure out too. If he's playing with Filip Hronek, for example, if that's their pairing, well, Filip Hronek's a -2. Why is Filip Hronek, the former Red Wing, a -2 and Tyler Myers a -25? So I haven't looked at their depth chart or where they're playing in general, but we're not, the Red Wings wouldn't be asking him in all likelihood to do what Vancouver is asking him to do. There's a little bit more of a more adaptable role for him if he were to come to Detroit. Just some thoughts, Elliot Friedman on Vincent Trocheck. I love that Detroit's at least in the mix. We'll keep you updated throughout the week because March 6th, this Friday, is the trade deadline. The Meyer hotline, 866-838-4843. Text us at Sports Radio 21,000. We've got Hero and Heel at 818. Don't forget that. We want your best and worst of the week here on X's and Bros, brought to you by Meyer.
You've worked hard for decades saving in pre-tax retirement plans like 401ks and IRAs, saving on taxes now. But as your retirement now approaches, you're going to get taxed at rates you have no control over. Hi, I'm Mitch Lyons, founder of Mitch Lyons Wealth. Your 401k balance isn't worth what your statement says. You could lose thousands of dollars to taxes, and those distributions can impact other areas of your retirement like Social Security and Medicare. Could a Roth IRA conversion be of help to you? You've probably heard of Roth conversions, but it can be confusing. Should you convert all at once or over time? Where should you pay the taxes from? How do you know for sure? Get our free personalized Roth Blueprint analysis today to find out exactly what makes sense for you. Your Roth Blueprint could potentially increase your lifetime wealth by thousands of dollars. So get your free Roth Blueprint today. Text Blueprint to 844-867-8335. That's Blueprint to 844-867-8335. Or go to MitchLyonsWealth.com, your best game plan to protect, grow, and win retirement.
Coming up later today at 3 on The Huge Show on the Michigan Sports Network, I'll deliver huge opinions on everything you're talking about.
Farrah's Coffee has been family-owned and operated for over 100 years. Its popular Den Blend and Dark Roast is more than coffee and more than the official coffee of the Detroit Lions. It's a call to rise. Farrah's Coffee and the Lions are the perfect match. They embrace those who show up early, cheer loud, and never back down. Den Blend is perfectly roasted in Grand Rapids and provides the ultimate fuel for fans who wake up and roar. Whether you're tailgating at the game or cheering from your couch, Den Blend is your go-to coffee for your game day ritual.
Hear that? That's the sound of saving a good deal more when you shop with M-Perks at Meijer. Some delicious Cosmic Crisp apples, money saved. Meijer Essential Paper Towels, that's money saved. Savings, savings, savings. Because every dollar spent is also points earned in M-Perks, which you can use to save on your next grocery trip or up to $1 off per gallon on your next tank of gas. At Meijer, we work hard to help you save a good deal more for a whole lot less. That's bringing more good to life. Exclusions apply. See mperks.com for details.
Avelo Airlines knows you love the Tigers because they love them too. It's why they have direct flights to Lakeland, Florida out of both Grand Rapids and Detroit. Thursdays and Sundays are nonstop out of GR, and Wednesdays and Saturdays are nonstop out of Detroit. So wherever you are in Michigan, you can get down to spring training to watch your Tigers. With everyday low fares, reliable service, you do not want to fly any other way. Head to AveloAir.com to book your trip now. That's AVELO air.com and use code HUGE for $20 off a round-trip base fare if you book before March 31st. Restrictions do apply.
In the Den with Dan Dickerson.
Lake Michigan Credit Union is proud to be the presenting sponsor of your Detroit Tigers 2026 spring training. Get out to the ballpark this year and enjoy some family-friendly fun. LMCU. You'll love banking there. Every year there are lots of minor league free agents in camp, the non-roster invitees. Some will have great camps and never be heard from again. Others kind of catch your eye and end up being key pieces for the Tigers. This year, lefty Emmanuel DeJesus just might fall into that category. DeJesus has logged 330 innings in Korea the last 2 years. This guy knows how to pitch. It's a low 90s fastball. He can get it up to 94. He's got weapons to get lefties and righties out, and he is constantly on the attack. DeJesus was the highlight of yesterday's 4-4 tie with Toronto. He pitched the final 3 innings, didn't give up a run, and he struck out 7, all swinging. DeJesus will pitch for Venezuela in the WBC.
Final hour of the program. Welcome back, X's and Bros. Throughout the state of Michigan and streaming on YouTube, on X, and on Facebook. We welcome your comments there. We welcome your texts at 21,000. And we welcome your phone calls on the Meyer hotline, 866-838-4843. Hero and Heel at 818. Pistons a winner. Same with the Spartans. So 2 really impressive wins. Red Wings hoping for a victory tonight in Nashville. And our Mitch Lyons Wealth poll question of the day is which free agent defensive end would you want the Lions to sign? Khalil Mack, Trey Hendrickson, Joey Bosa, Arden Key. Those are the guys. So who is it who, in case they can't trade for a guy? So Trey Hendrickson's due to make, I think I read $25 million. Khalil Mack is due to make $18 million. Joey Bosa is expected, this is via Sport Track, expected to make close to $14 million. And Arden Key is a little bit more reasonable at almost $7 million. Okay. I didn't put Leonard Floyd in there. He's going to be 34 years old. Arden Key is 30. All right. Von Miller's 37, for example. So I guess I could have put AJ Epinesa from Buffalo. He's going to make about $6 million. I just thought Arden Key might have been a bigger name and people would have recognized it. Anyway, you can vote as often as you want at XP Mornings. We give you the results in the 8 o'clock hour tomorrow. Let's get to a text real quick. We'll do that, and then I want to dive into what I would consider a pretty interesting discussion short term here, because somebody tweeted something out yesterday that blew my mind about an NFL quarterback. We'll get to that here coming up. Let me get to a text. Go ahead.
Is Max Clark a bust? The necklace scandal seems like he's just not mature enough.
Okay. First of all, absolutely, he's not a bust.
The only reason I laugh was because that's got to be a very early assumption. But yes, go ahead.
But why do we care? Why do we care that he's got a bunch of bling on?
I don't give a damn.
Other guys do. That is consistent in sports. I mean, guys do it in football all the time when you would think it would get pulled and yanked off, for crying out loud. Max Clark, just because he plays with flair, flash, whatever, doesn't mean that he's and hasn't made it to the major leagues yet. Doesn't mean he's a bust. There's a story out there when he was in low A, the speaker broke. He went out and got the speaker himself, paid for it. I know that seems like a small thing. This is how you endear yourself to teammates. He went out, bought the speaker himself, put it in there, didn't tell anybody he did it, didn't make a big deal out of it. Hey, man, I just did this. He just did it. This dude is a very athletic player. He made 3 poor decisions in 1 inning of a spring training game, his first spring training invite as a young player. And people are going to hold that against him? Are you kidding me? What's he hitting? Do you have any idea so far what he's doing right now?
No, I don't.
In spring training? Okay. I know McConnell's it's been really good for him. And we've seen it on a pretty regular basis. So far this spring training, Max Clark has played in 7 games. And he's 2 for 15. He's driven in 1 run. He's got 5 punch outs. So he's batting $133. Did you think he was going to make the team?
No,
I didn't.
No, I didn't. I thought McGonigal had a much better shot.
I didn't think McGonigal would make the team.
I didn't either, but I thought of the 2 of them. That's where my focus was.
You keep hitting 430.
Yeah.
In spring training.
Right.
You're going to make the team. I would remind you, Kevin McGonigal hit 254 at AA last year. Max Clark hit 251. Okay, so he doesn't have the power, but he's not supposed to just yet. Those things come later. I'm not worried about the kid. They say he's the best center fielder, best defensive player in the system. He made 3 mishaps in left field, where he usually doesn't play because he's a center fielder. And people are going to hold it against him. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to give the kid some breathing room. I'm going to let him grow a little bit. He's 21. Let's be careful, please, okay? Let me ask you a question. Riley Green was considered for Team USA for the World Baseball Classic. He's a 2-time All-Star. He's a Silver Slugger Award winner, okay? Do you think he's a good player?
Yes.
Okay. Did you think he was a good player in 2023?
Yeah, I've always liked him. Yes.
Okay, when he hit 11 homers and 37. That's when he turned 22 years old. Riley Green is a 21-year-old, was a fast riser, and he was a fast riser because Detroit needed him to be. That team was god-awful. I know because I called every single one of those games. That was painful. Tucker Barnhart was playing more golf than baseball. Jonathan Scope was limping around. Jamer Candelario couldn't field at third base. Akil Baddoo, we made out to be a hell of a lot better than he really was. And Victor Reyes would surprise us once in a while with a home run and a triple in the same game. That's who the Detroit Tigers were. Stop with Miguel Cabrera, okay? Because he had 5 homers that year as a DH. That's what the Tigers were. They needed something. And they got Riley Green. They also got Spencer Torkelson batting .203, but they got Riley Green. He learned to a certain extent at the major league level as a 21-year-old. The Tigers don't have to rush Max Clark. They don't have to rush Max Anderson. They don't have to rush Theron Lorenzo. They don't have to rush Kevin McGonigal if they don't necessarily want to. And by rush, I mean make the team out of spring training. They can come up at some point this year. I'm confident that they will, specifically McGonigal. Hell, if he keeps hitting this way, I'd take him north. You might lose credibility if you don't. Somebody, do you really need Jahmai Jones? Are there people saying, I got to have him in right field every once in a while? Or am I wrong there? I don't know who would be cut from the team in that sense. Okay? But they could use McGonigal a hell of a lot more than they could use Max Clark from an outfield standpoint. McGonigal can shore some things up, not just with his bat. He seems like a much smoother fielding shortstop. I always thought he was more of a second baseman than a shortstop, but he sure licks the place so far in spring training. To call him a bust at 21 when he doesn't have a major league at bat yet, when he's barely been out of Double-A, I would expect Max Clark, if it continues at this route, and he's batting just $133, I would expect him to start the year in Double-A, excel, move up to Triple-A for a short period of time, and then get a call up if all goes well for him. He's another left-handed bat, but doesn't have the home run power just yet. He's going to make this team based on getting on base, stealing bases, and playing defense. Okay? Another text. Go ahead.
My unsung hero for the Pistons is Asar Thompson. I love how he brings it on defense and isn't asked to do much on offense. He's a fun guy to root for.
Amen. Well, and I don't mean by his brother. I'm just saying yes. Excellent point.
That was good.
Yeah. Excellent point. Tobias Harris said the same thing. Tobias Harris said after the game last night, he said, look, I thought the guy was Asar Thompson for us. Or
give
he
him
called
more
him
credit.
AT.
Yeah.
Yeah. He gave him a ton of credit. And rightfully so, right? Asar Thompson, they don't necessarily need his scoring. He only had 9 last night. But he also had 11 rebounds. And he had 2 steals and 3 blocks. He was a +10 on the floor. It's a big deal. Well done. Really good text. We're back with Hero and Heel right after this. We're brought to you this hour by Avello Airlines, AvelloAir.com.
Mitch Lyons here, founder of Mitch Lyons Wealth, where we create your best game plan to protect, grow, and win retirement. I'm here with Tiger legend Kirk Gibson, who we are proud to support and partner with on the newly opened Kirk Gibson Center for Parkinson's Wellness.
Thanks, Mitch. We appreciate your support, and we are excited to have recently opened the center in Farmington Hills. It provides exercise therapy and educational programs that are helping the Parkinson's community. just like Mitch Lyons Wealth helps improve the quality for their clients' retirements. This center helps improve the quality of life for people with Parkinson's.
And Gibby, the best part of all is that access to the center is available to the Parkinson's community free of charge, right?
That's right, absolutely free of charge for people with Parkinson's and their care partners.
You hit a couple of the most famous home runs in Major League history, Gibby, but I feel that your greatest hit will be the positive impact that Kirk Gibson Center is making in the fight against Parkinson's.
Mitch, since my diagnosis, I get up every day and focus on winning that day. This center encourages others to do the same.
Awesome, Gibby. To learn more, go to kirkgibsoncenter.org.
Thanks for tuning in to X's and Bros with Matt Shepard, only on the Michigan Sports Network. And don't forget the huge show later today at 3 p.m.
Hey, when you travel, you want low fares, you want reliable service, and you want a direct flight. Avelo Air gives you all of that and more. Avelo Air has direct flights to take Tigers fans to spring training in Lakeland. Avelo Air will take you from Grand Rapids to Lakeland directly on Thursdays and Sundays. They will take you directly from Detroit to Lakeland on Wednesdays and Saturdays. You literally land 20 minutes from the ballpark. You don't have to wait in lines. You don't have to worry about any of that other hassle. This is hassle-free travel like you deserve. Go to aveloair.com and get $20 off a base fare round-trip flight to Lakeland when you book your trip by March 31st. All you have to do is use the code HUGE. That's HUGE on aveloair.com. Restrictions do apply. See aveloair.com for details today.
What's up, Michigan? You're listening to my good friend Shep. The Huge Show is coming up later today at 3, right here on the Michigan Sports Network.
really enjoy Mondays. I do. I mean, I know it's the beginning of the work week, and I know a lot of people shake their head and they're like, oh my God, now it's going to be a treacherous week. No, not for me. I mean, Mondays I really enjoy. I enjoy Mondays with Mitch at 7:18, and I really enjoy Hero and Heel. Now, do we get the feedback that I would like? No. Plain and simple, no. Hero and Heel is the best and the worst of the week. I really thought people would gravitate toward that and just fly in with phone calls and texts about what the best and the worst of the week were. It hasn't happened. I don't care. I'm going to keep doing it because I enjoy it, and I think it's good radio.
It's fun.
Do. Let's get to the hero, okay? My hero is Kevin McGonigal. Kevin McGonigal is hitting .462 with an on-base plus slugging of over 1,306 spring training games. A.J. Hinch said he's been very impressive. To be able to go up with a game plan and execute it, he's seen the results. He's got a great process. It's fun to see him on the field. He's learning. He made an incredible first to third decision. He also learned a lesson on making a late decision on the bases. Every little thing is a new experience for him, but he's awfully impressive. There's been a lot of guys who've been impressive so far. I mean, Kenley Jansen threw 12 pitches the other day and got a clean inning. He's on the team. You don't have to worry about that. We say this all the time. In football, you are in training camp. You're deciding between, let's say, 5 guys. All right? Not the burger joint, just 5 guys in general. In basketball, most coaches know their 8 to 9 man rotation. There's an exception. Danis Jenkins, no way did people think he would be as impactful as he's been for the Pistons. Red Wings, NHL, you probably a good team now I'm talking about, and the Tigers are a good team. You figure you probably got 2 or 3 spots that are open. Somebody has to seize the moment. In baseball, you're carrying a 26-man roster. 13 of them are pitchers, 13 position players. You might have maybe 2 spots open. This kid, if he continues at this rate, there's no way you can leave him and say, sorry, you're going to go to Toledo, son. I know you've just led us in hitting, .462. I know you've led us in on-base plus slugging. I know you've made every play at short, and you're growing on the base paths, and you're making smart decisions. We're going to leave you behind because we want to start fill-in-the-blank at shortstop who might not be there in a month. Can't do that because I think everybody else would look around and say, wait a minute now. We went out. We spent this much money on Framber Valdez. We re-upped with Kyle Finnegan. We got the best pitcher in the world. We need some guys to get on base because we're not great on base, and we need some guys to shore up the middle of our infield, knowing especially Framber Valdez is a ground ball pitcher. You got to take this kid. If he continues at this rate, and he's been off to a great start, I'll give him my hero for the week.
Love it. My hero, this brings me no joy, but it's Duke basketball. Just a week after beating Michigan in what most believe to be the battle for the undisputed number 1 team in the country, not just by ranking, but by belief. The Blue Devils turn around last Saturday, and they beat number 11 Virginia by 26 points, Shep. Not to mention they also beat Notre Dame by 44 on Tuesday. Notre Dame stinks. But the point is Duke is steamrolling their way to the tournament. Yeah. And it's hard to see a world, barring North Carolina embarrassing them and a flame out in the first round of the ACC tournament, even though they'll have a bye. It's hard to see a world where they aren't the number 1 overall seed come Selection Sunday. So my hero's Duke basketball, unfortunately.
I think there are 3. Tell me if you think I'm wrong here. I think there are 3 number 1s already secured. I think it's Duke, Michigan, and Arizona.
Completely agree. Yep.
Okay.
Lockstep.
The last one is up to Houston and Texas Tech and a few other teams to try and decide. UConn, and then it'll get interesting. And that's why it was an interesting conversation with Mitch earlier in Mondays with Mitch at 7:18. Where do you see Michigan State? I saw somebody last weekend say they were a 4 seed. I think with wins at Purdue and Indiana, that has moved up a bit. I would guess they are a 3 seed right now.
Today they have to be. I think today they have.
Where do you think I'm wrong there?
I don't think you're wrong. I think they are a 3 seed firmly right now. By firmly, I mean I think they're probably around 10th or 11th best team in the country. So that would be the 3 seed. I could see them moving to a 4, of course, if they lose big to Michigan and somehow lose. Who do they play next? Why am I brain farting on that? On senior day, they play.
Don't they play Rutgers?
Is it Rutgers? Okay, whatever. My point is, Michigan State
So they're going to win that game.
Yeah.
Okay? So they're going to be 23-5. I don't think the rankings have anything to do. Well, I shouldn't say anything. I don't think it's as impactful.
No, but it's
I think the
for
committee then looks at what they've done. And when you can say that you've gone into Purdue and won, and you've gone into Assembly Hall and won, and you've already beaten North Carolina on a neutral site, you played Duke really tough and lost to them at a neutral site, and you've beaten Kentucky on a neutral site. You've got some really impressive things that I think some of the other teams that are vying for a 3 seed might be missing. So I don't know if it's Iowa State. You know, I'm not saying that they belong. Let's just say, for sake of argument, Iowa State's the last number 1 seed. That means the 2s are Houston and UConn and Florida. Who am I missing?
The bottom line is
maybe Virginia, but Michigan State's ahead of Purdue. I would take Michigan State, based on reputation, would be ahead of Nebraska. Illinois is a good one, whether or not they would be ahead of Illinois.
But you're right. Purdue is free falling. I guess my bottom line is I think Michigan's firmly a number 1 seed. Michigan State is firmly a number 3 seed. I'd be shocked if either one of those aren't true come Selection Sunday.
Yeah, and I think Michigan State will finish 1-1, which tells you, anytime you get 23 wins and you put together 5 straight wins near the end of the season, and will be a challenge in the Big Ten tournament, may not win it all. It'll be a hell of a year, and I think they'll be in a 3 seed. All right, here's my heel. My heel is University of Massachusetts. Why? They played UConn the other night over the weekend, and UConn right now is vying for the last team in the field of the college hockey playoffs, all right, or college hockey national tournament. UMass came down the ice and had a shot on net. Guy made a nice move inside from the slot backhand try. It was kicked away. Clearly a save. It was kicked out, and then UConn grabbed it and took it down in transition the other way. Somebody must not have been paying attention and didn't look at the red light to see if it went on behind the goal, because that's how you know that there is a goal. When the red light goes on, the red light did not go on. They thought it was game over. They started playing music. They started having spinning lights like it was the second coming of John Travolta in Saturday Night Fever.
That's embarrassing.
And turned the lights off. While that was going on, UConn had a 2-on-1 the other way and believed to have scored. Nobody saw it. Referees couldn't tell. Nobody could tell because the lights were off. The game ended in a 3-3 tie. Shame on UMass. They're my heel of the week. Yeah.
That's terrible. All right, my heel is Chad Baker-Mazara. You know the name?
I don't.
He played for USC men's hoops this season, but previously he played for Duquesne, San Diego State, 1 season at JUCO, last season at Auburn, and this season at USC. Well, the 26-year-old's 5th season of college basketball just finished up prematurely because the Trojans announced yesterday he won't finish the season with the team. Look, whether that's his decision or the team's decision, Chad Baker-Mazara represents everything that's wrong with college sports today. 5 years, 5 different teams, never had to sit out a year. I'm all for looking out for yourself and changing your situation and being proactive when it isn't a good fit. But to do that 4 times and essentially abuse the system that the NCAA has zero control over, maybe they should be my heel. I don't think college basketball is going to miss Chad Baker-Mazara whatsoever. He quits on his team or they kick him off the team. Either way, with 2 games left in your season, it's a bad look for him and USC. He's my heel.
Same group, good one. Same group that was him and Hahn about Trinidad Chambliss. You're not going to give him that extra year, despite the injury in the past, but you're going to allow this guy to bounce around the way he has? Shame on you. How ridiculous is that? That's embarrassing. You see where leadership is needed, and yet it's completely vacant at the NCAA. It's crazy. All right, when we come back, this is nuts, I think. I read this on social media the other day where a writer has come out and suggested that this front-running starter for a bad football team in the NFL, when healthy, is among the best in the league. I find that hard to believe. Or am I getting way too ahead of myself? We'll get to that coming up here on X's and Bros. We're brought to you this hour by our friends at Ovelo Airlines. They fly direct, Grand Rapids to Lakeland, Detroit to Lakeland. And they're helping us sponsor a trip to spring training to watch the Tigers if you text Tigers to 21,000. It's brought to you by Avello Airlines. Go to avelloair.com and by LMCU, The Huge Show, drafting and grabbing those winners, picking those winners later on in the week on the Michigan Sports Network.
How would you like to win airfare and tickets to a Tiger spring training game in Lakeland, Florida, courtesy of Avello Airlines, The Huge Show, and the Michigan Sports Network? Well, all you have to do is text Tigers to 21,000, and you'll be in the drawing for one of 4 trips we are giving away courtesy of Avello Airlines, The Huge Show, and the Michigan Sports Network. Just text Tigers to 21,000 to get into the drawing. That's Tigers to 21,000.
Lake Michigan Credit Union is proud to be the official sponsor of Detroit Tigers spring training. Get to the ballpark today and enjoy family fun. LMCU is providing tickets to winners who enter our Tigers Tuesday contest. Text the word Tigers to 21,000 and register for tickets today. And listen to The Huge Show to see if you're a winner. It's brought to you by our friends at LMCU. You'll love banking there.
Thanks for tuning in to X's and Bros with Matt Shepard, only on the Michigan Sports Network. And don't forget The Huge Show later today at 3 p.m.
Make sure you listen weekly to our Moving Ferris Forward interviews with Ferris President Bill Pink and other leaders who are moving Ferris forward. Find out more about Big Rapids and Ferris and what they have to offer at ferris.edu.
Back with you, X's and Bros, Monday through Friday, 6 until 9. Glad you're with us here on a Monday morning. We're brought to you by Avelo Airlines. Go to aveloair.com. Direct flights from Grand Rapids to Lakeland, Detroit to Lakeland as well, and save you some money too, $20 right now if you go to aveloair.com. I saw a tweet from an NFL insider over the weekend, and I asked a friend of mine this right away, and they didn't even hesitate. So Daniel Jeremiah writes for NFL Network and is on NFL Network. He said that Deshaun Watson is his words now, the front runner to the Browns starting quarterback over Shedeur Sanders next season. That's fine. Then the person who tweeted that quote out, who is also involved in the NFL, okay, wrote this: a healthy Deshaun is a top 10 QB in the NFL. The rest of the league is in trouble. So I said this to a friend of mine. I said, let me ask you a question, because they had no idea what I was reading. They're kind of staring off. And I said, Deshaun Watson, when healthy, top 10 quarterback in the league right now? What do you think? Before I could even finish, what do you think? The immediate response was, no, he's not. And I said, okay, all right. Is he or is he not? And you know me, this is what happens all the time in sports. You immediately, if you want to get into a debate, mention the top 10 quarterbacks and who you think are those top 10 quarterbacks, and you watch the sparks fly. So I would ask you this: when healthy, is he? And I know what you're doing right now, because I did the same thing. I immediately thought, oh, wait a minute. Here are my 10. So when he's not healthy, here are my 10. And let's just keep this in mind real quick. Even though Deshaun Watson, based on allegations, seems like a bit of a pig of a human being, all right? But if Deshaun Watson was healthy, he has been, we always bring up Pro Bowlers. Maybe that's a wrong thing to say. It wasn't long ago. Well, I guess it was. It was 6 years ago, where he threw for 4,800 yards, completed 70% of his passes, had 33 touchdowns and only 7 picks. He led the league in yards. He led the league in yards per attempt, and led the leagues in yards per catch for his receivers. All right. The problem is he was 4-12 as a member of the Houston Texans. They get rid of him. They move him to Cleveland. Since he's been in Cleveland, he's 9-10. He's completed just 61% of his passes, has almost as many interceptions as touchdowns, and has not been healthy, nor has he been worthwhile. Okay, 3-3, 5-1, 1-6. All right, those are his numbers. Hasn't played in 2 years. When healthy, specifically in Houston, he's completed 68% of his passes. He had 104 touchdowns, to 36 interceptions. And he's 3 games above 500. When healthy, is Deshaun Watson a top 10 quarterback in the National Football League? As you answer that, what's going through your mind is the same thing that went through mine. In no particular order. Stafford, Allen, Jackson, not Alan Jackson, the country singer. I'm talking about Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson. Goff. Come on. Drake May. Dude's a runner-up to MVP. Okay. Something to be said for that, yes? Absolutely. Okay. I last time I checked, Deshaun Watson wasn't that. Anyway, so can you grant me that? That's 5. Obviously, Mahomes. 6. Purdy. Burrow. That's 8. Would you say Sam Darnold? I know. He's only been the second quarterback to win 14 games or more during the regular season in back-to-back years. And he just won a Super Bowl. My bad. We won't put him on. It's funny how, especially at that position, you win. If people don't believe in you before you win, the immediate response is his defense bailed him out. He's got Jackson Smith and Jigba, the offensive player of the year. Kenneth Walker was unbelievable, the MVP of the Super Bowl. He doesn't win. He can't win the big one. Anyway, let's not put him on. Jordan Love? What do you think? Who would be that guy? Or who would not be that guy?
To be honest, Shep, I feel like if Jordan Love was healthy, or if Deshaun Watson was healthy, I think he'd be better than Jordan Love right now, to be honest.
Okay.
But I don't, to your point here, it's been so long since we've seen a healthy Deshaun Watson that I can't really say that with much confidence.
How about Baker Mayfield?
That's a hard one because those guys are attached at the hip in a certain way.
To a certain extent. Yeah.
I think Watson's skill set's better, but I think Baker would have a better ranking in the league, if that makes sense.
Trevor Lawrence.
No.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Haven't seen it more than one season from Trevor Lawrence, at least in my opinion.
Fair enough. How many did you see it with Deshaun Watson?
I don't know. In Houston, like 3 or 4. But then with that's my point. It's been a while, so it's kind of hard to say Deshaun Watson would be better than these guys. And I don't even necessarily think he would be. I'm just saying for the sake of discussion here, if he were healthy, I think he'd be a little bit better than people want to admit.
Mm-hmm. Fair enough. I don't disagree with the Trevor Lawrence. I'm just asking. I mean, he did get some MVP votes. How about second and third place? How about Caleb Williams?
Not yet. Not right now.
Justin Herbert?
No.
Dak Prescott?
No.
Really?
Deshaun Watson, when healthy, I think, he played the same seasons Dak Prescott did. Like they both played. I don't know. I guess maybe now that I think about it.
I mean, that was a pretty quick no.
Yeah, you're right, though. But Dak Prescott played. I think Dak Prescott finished. Didn't he finish like third in MVP? One of those years that Deshaun Watson was balling as well.
Sixth one year in the MVP. I think he finished third in offensive player of the year this past year.
I'm trying to go back to when they were both playing at the same time, even though, again, that's not really a fair exercise because so much has happened since then. But I would say Deshaun Watson, no, he would not be as good as Dak Prescott right now if he was healthy.
Yeah, I think
but that one's closer than you think.
I think most people would take Dak Prescott.
He wins.
I think he's
in the regular season.
Well, he does. At some point, we've got to figure out. We've got to determine certain things. Okay, do you think, the Dallas Cowboys have been run well? I would say no.
No.
I wouldn't spend $60 million on Dak Prescott. That doesn't mean that he's not a better quarterback than Deshaun Watson, or I would rather have him quarterbacking my team than Deshaun Watson. And if people are going to use wins and losses to disparage certain quarterbacks of the past, Matthew Stafford when he was in Detroit, then how come it doesn't work the opposite? And I've got no skin in the game with Dak Prescott. What do I care? But
no, it's a good point.
80,
You're right.
83, 55, and 1. We're not going to look at that, but we'll use it for our argument against somebody else.
Yeah.
That to me makes no sense. A dude led the league in touchdowns with 36 a few years ago. Okay. He's thrown for over 4,000 yards 4 times in his career. Sorry, but when you're getting these types of accolades and you're winning, and I know it's about playoffs, but
not entirely.
Well, but
that's what matters most to people. But
okay, but it does determine how one guy might be better than the other, oftentimes. And if you're going to say Dak Prescott's not as good as fill in the blank because that guy has won in the playoffs, that's fair enough. Then you also have to use that argument, do you not, to compare him to Deshaun Watson.
Yep, you're exactly right about that. I struggle with this a little bit, Shep, because admittedly, when I think of Deshaun Watson in my head, I think of him in my early college years. No, I mean, after that, my early college years when he was with Houston and he was a franchise quarterback and they didn't have a whole lot of talent. They had Deshaun Hopkins, right?
Denard Hopkins.
Or
DeAndre.
DeAndre Hopkins. Geez.
Denard Hopkins was a pretty good fighter.
He had Hopkins, really good receiver. But anyways, they didn't have a whole lot of talent. And he would run around and make plays with his legs and do all these things. That's who I'm thinking of. But maybe I shouldn't be, because we're talking about 2020 and 2019. Like, that's a half decade plus ago now. So I need to adjust the way that I'm looking at this, because that player, to me, I would take over Dak Prescott right now. But that player might not exist anymore, and we don't know because we haven't seen a healthy Deshaun Watson in forever.
Yeah, they were good enough. Remember, Demaryius Thomas went over there. They were good enough to win 11 games in 10 games in back-to-back years. And if it's not all him, I'm not saying that it's not. Hell, DJ Reader was on that team. But they couldn't have avoided talent if they had double-digit wins in back-to-back years.
Yeah, I'm not necessarily. None of these teams have avoided talent necessarily.
And it can't be all Deshaun Watson either.
It wasn't. I just remember him playing like the style of quarterback when that first started to take over, when Mahomes started winning Super Bowls and Josh Allen came onto the MVP discussion and Lamar Jackson, same deal. Like, Deshaun Watson wasn't necessarily in those discussions, but he was playing the same type of football and he was winning games. So
yeah,
admittedly, that's where my brain goes, but that was so long ago that I shouldn't. I should adjust to Cleveland Browns Deshaun Watson, which is a complete dumpster fire.
Yeah, and in fairness, I'm not disagreeing with you here, because I think that's a really good point. He deserves a lot of credit for that. It was a while ago, but he still deserves a lot of credit. I would just remind you, they went 10-5. His third year there in Houston, I believe. He had 26 touchdowns and 12 interceptions. I said Trevor Lawrence, and you said no. He had 29 and 12 this year for a division-winning Jacksonville team.
Yeah, because I'm just talking skill set.
And it's not a great division.
They're just different quarterbacks.
Division.
Well, it's the same division, to your point. That's kind of weird, but it.
No, I said it's not a great division.
Right.
What I said. So I get that.
But both guys maybe took advantage of the poor division, so you got to factor that in too.
Yeah, and that's okay. You can only play who you're playing.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I'm just talking like Deshaun Watson and Trevor Lawrence.
We're trying to differentiate between one guy or another. I think we need to bring all that into account. I mean, Trevor Lawrence, who I wouldn't rank him ahead of him either. Don't get me wrong. But he finished 5th in the MVP voting. Deshaun Watson never finished 5th. Trevor Lawrence has been in the conversation. He finished 7th in the MVP in his second year. Trevor Lawrence did, when he threw for 25 touchdowns and 8 picks. So I think you're right. We're looking at Deshaun Watson over 2 years in Houston. And in Cleveland, it has been a proverbial dumpster fire. Now, he's never played a full season in Cleveland.
That's exactly it right there, Shep. You just nailed it. He's never played a full season there. So when I think in my head, healthy Deshaun Watson, I think Houston. But that's not really the question. That we're talking healthy Deshaun Watson now, and it's been way too long since then.
Yeah, only 3. He's only played. Like, we hold this against this is polarizing. We hold it against Marcus Davenport because he doesn't play all the time, right? Okay. Deshaun Watson has played a full season 3 times in his career. That's it.
All in Houston, correct?
Yeah. I mean, his first year, he didn't play every game. But the next 3 years, he did. And it was bad enough there in Houston that they traded him. What does that say? I just don't think he's a top 10 quarterback by any stretch.
No, I don't either at all.
Yeah. Hey, so I wanted this. I noticed somebody had sent this out. This is from a 70s post. This person loved the 70s. Okay, who does it?
Is it the Super 70 Sports on
Yes.
X? Oh, it's a great account. Give it a follow.
It is a great account. Of all the sports that I loved as a kid, college basketball has fallen the farthest from me, they wrote. I just don't give a crap anymore. They said a different word. It used to be so good. Young people today can't even understand what we know. There's a really good picture of Patrick Ewing and Ralph Sampson battling. Sampson at Virginia, and of course Ewing at Georgetown. What sport has fallen the furthest for you?
You know what? It's probably college hoops because of how high of regard I had for it when I was growing up. You got to remember, I grew up a Spartan fan, so I had all the time as Final Four runs, all those banners. I remember all that, right? So for me, I had college hoops in such high regard that because of the NIL BS and because of a lot of the stuff we're seeing now, it has dropped for me. Not a ton. It's still my favorite. It's still my number one. But the NFL is always going to be the NFL. You know, that hasn't dropped for me at all since I was a kid, really.
I would say, yeah, for me, it'd be college football. And it'd be college football because of the constant jumping from team to team and how long guys are playing.
Similar reason as college basketball,
college
right?
Basketball. Yeah. But it's interesting that it's college. It's not anything professional. Let's get to the final results of our poll question. I thought that was interesting. The poll question that we asked on Friday was this. Which basketball team in the state of Michigan has the best chance to win a title? Is it the Pistons, Michigan State, or other? And the reason we brought up other is because of the women's Michigan and Michigan State basketball teams that are pretty good. What say the masses?
Okay, so let's start with other got 1%. So if I gave you Michigan State, and Pistons, Shep, how do you think they ranked out?
Michigan
won the poll at 79%.
Wow.
So you got 20% remaining. You think Michigan State or the Pistons got second?
Pistons.
They did. Pistons got second with 13%. Michigan State with 7%. But Michigan blew away everyone else.
I think a lot depends on the draw. So I'm anxious to see that bracket and see where the teams may be and who's in their path. The Daily Wager brought to you by Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort and their sportsbook Ascend. What did you have Friday? How'd you do?
Well, if you remember, I took the Pistons -6 to beat the Cavaliers because they had no James Harden, no Donovan Mitchell. Didn't go well because they only end up winning by 3 in overtime.
It was a lot closer than expected.
I was going to say that's another one that I'm not really upset to lose. I'd rather win, but I'm glad the Pistons won regardless. But today, and I say today because I believe, aren't the Wings and Preds playing at 2:00?
I don't know. I got to check that.
I'll double check that right now. I think it's a daytime game.
Cool.
Yeah, 2:00 against the Preds.
Oh, why would that be?
In Nashville. So it's 1:00 there.
All right. Fired up.
And I'll just take the over 6 goals.
Okay. It's a lot.
I know. I didn't want to take the Wings -1.5 because I don't have a whole lot of confidence in them right now, but I'll take the over 6 goals.
You could take the under 6 goals.
Life's too short to bet the under.
Yeah.
Come on.
3-2 the final. Good. We'll check it out tomorrow. Brought to you by Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort. Our thanks to all of you for giving us the opportunity on a Monday morning.